Hi everyone, it's Rhonda here from Nelson's Soapery. Today I am so excited to bring you this video all about my absolutely beautiful unicorn soap. I mean, doesn't that just look darling? I mean, absolutely beautiful. And I'm a mum of 5 daughters, and my daughters would have loved that as well as my 2 sons would have thought it was just amazing. Those beautiful colours, a bit of biodegradable glitter, a few little sprinkles of candy on top, and so on. So I did do a reel and not the video on actually making this, but I will actually pop some little bits in of the pour and things like that, so you can see how gorgeous it looked and what I actually get up to. But today it's all about cutting. So I thought, look, let's talk about this, because I get asked about this, the small molds that I make. So I thought we'll just have a little bit of a chat about soap and a few things that I do. A little snippet of the pouring, the biodegradable glitter, the candy, and of course just the end result. So now lots of you actually asked me all about these molds. So these molds here are what's called a petite cake mold, and you can get these just from a cake shop. So I've got these ones from I Dream Cakes in Pakenham, Victoria, Australia, but I'm sure that you can look on Amazon or something and find something similar if you just type in or Google petite molds. I know these ones at the moment are sold out, but they definitely will bring them back. So now with my slab mold that I've got here and the recipe, basically my recipe is I've got to remember exactly, I think it's 6,625 grams, and that will also give me 4 of these in here once I pour that. So that's usually what I do. I pour all that and have 4 of these. But this is what they look like. I mean, don't they look absolutely darling? They measure out to be about 50 grams each once they've done their little thing, but these ones are quite new, so I'm just going to leave them aside for now. But yeah, so just go to any of those cake ones. In Australia, there's another one called Paradise Cakes, and they also have thousands of silicone molds, as do I Dream Cakes. So just go online and have a look. But Amazon have a lot. I definitely have noticed Amazon don't have as much as these cake shops, but find your specialty cake shop and ask them, because often they'll actually order something like that in for you as well. So actually, let me measure this one for you so I can tell you. So this one here that I was talking about as well, it has 10 little holes, so 10 inserts, and I'll tell you the measurement for each individual one. So it's basically 4.2 centimeters times about 7 centimeters long, and then, you know, the height of the soap is going to come to about 2.6 centimeters. So it is a little tiny one, but it's a great guest soap one, and I do make this one in my baby soap as well, and it's super popular for baby soap because it's really easy to hold and so on. And my mother-in-law does love this. So a lot of people too that are a bit older, they actually do like it because it's a much smaller bar. But today we've talked about that, so now let's get on and we will cut these gorgeous ones. Now, I've talked about this a little bit before. When I actually cut mine, I do have a scale just sitting to the side, and what I do is I measure it, because I want mine here, when they're cured, I want these to be roughly 120 grams. That's what I sell them as. So I really need them to be like 130 when I'm cutting it. Because if they're not going to be 130 grams, then what's going to happen is once they go through the cure process and they'll lose a little bit of their water content, they're not going to equal to be 120. So definitely don't cut them being 120 if that's the size you're trying to go for. And I'm sure you can see what I mean as well. So I'll show you all of that, and I'll show you my little scale, what I just do. So usually I make the first one. This one here, I've already measured it. So if you've got this particular single cutter, which this one is from Aussie Soap Supplies, I'm pretty sure Brambleberry have one similar, and the US as well. So basically all you need to do is just cut this one, get it organized and ready. So here, I think I have it at 2.3 centimeters, but you know, you might want it wider. It doesn't matter, whatever you want. And so that everybody knows, I actually don't cut the end off. Like, you can cut this little slither if you don't like it, but I just generally leave it on. Does it really matter? I mean, it's soap. So, you know, as long as it's measuring what we want. So we'll cut the first one, and this is basically what it's going to look like. And I can tell that this one's a little bit smaller because if you can see the end, it kind of has a tiny rounded bit, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's soap, and you know, this is the thing too, everybody. We're making handmade soap. We're not saying this is factory made in a mold. So you need to make that clear that it's handmade and it's beautiful. Now, this one is only equaling 128 grams. So I'm going to cut the next one and just to see, which I'm pretty sure this one will be much better because it is, you know, very, very straight. We'll measure it. So this one says 135, which I know that's perfect. That one is going to come to around the 120. And most of my soaps, honestly, will be bigger than 120. But, you know, it's better to sell it for over that than under. You can't be selling something saying that it's 120 when it's 110. And you look, I've had ones that I've cut. And what I've actually had to do is I've had to just either change the label or sell it cheaper. So, yeah, so that's what I've done. Now, hopefully you can kind of see this one here, and I will zoom in when I do the editing. But it does have some little sprinkles, some biodegradable glitter on it. And these sprinkles are just like candy sprinkles. You can use those. I'd say use them sparingly, like there's only a couple per bar. And they're just going to melt in the shower. There's no problem. But that needs to be a part of your recipe. And on my soap, it does say on the back of it, do not eat. Because, and I know, and I actually, it was my brother-in-law's birthday and I made him a soap and I gave him the soap and he said, why do you write do not eat on the soap? And I said, because if there's sprinkles or anything, you don't want somebody picking them off and eating them, a child in particular. And it just covers you. So you really need to say, please don't eat that. And he's like, oh, okay, I never thought a child would eat it. So, you know, and as I said to him, no one would think someone's going to eat it, but you need to cover yourself. So you just write those little bits and pieces in there. So, yeah, so hopefully, like I said, that kind of gives you a little bit of an insight. And I made this soap 20 hours ago. So in between making it, you know, you can cut it, but it depends. If your recipe has much higher olive content, well, you may need to leave it in the mold a couple days. So when I make my baby soap needs to stay in the mold a couple days. You know, I definitely can't be taking it out the next day because that has 75% olive oil. So that is a very high content of oil. So, you know, when it's something like that, you just need to think about it. So now this slab mold with my cutting, this is the only waste I'm getting is a tiny little slither at the end. So just to let everybody know, that's basically why I don't snip anything off on one end. But that's pretty much the only waste. And the first one that I cut, even though it was a bit smaller, it will probably be okay. It'll probably be close to the measurement I want. And usually what I do is the first one I always measure it. So let me just weigh out our scale for the second loaf that we're doing. See now, so this one says 145. So that's what I mean. Sometimes if you haven't pushed the bar up close enough, you just need to make sure that, you know, you're pushing the soap to the end. So I'm just going to move this a little bit because I don't want it too big. So I'll just move this in. And look, the slightest measurement, the slightest change of moving this will change the weight. So sometimes you do have to play around with it as well. And I can already see that one's much thinner. So that's 137. And two, the reason is the first one I did was, I think it was like half, or maybe even quarter of a centimetre shorter in the loaf because I changed the wire. So that's why I always say measure everything. Even if it's not soap and it's body cream, please everyone measure all of your, you know, things. Like weigh all of them up. Don't just go, oh, well, I filled it to the top so they're all the same. Well, they might not be because whipping it a different way or anything like that is definitely going to change things. So it's really important. Like honestly, it's so important that, you know, you're weighing everything, measuring it, and making sure, because, you know, big factories or shops, you know, big name shops, they have to make sure their measurements right, and so do we, because we're selling to consumers. So please make sure that, you know, all of that's right. And something that a lot of you may not know, and I've not had this happen to me, but I know it does happen. Sometimes you will get official people, especially in Australia, they will come to the market with a scale and they will measure people's products. They will weigh them to see that they are weighing the right amount. And if not, you can get a fine on the spot selling at a market if you have not done all of that. So that's super important, everyone. Please make sure, like I said, that your weights and everything are right. And I know lots of you are probably thinking, oh my goodness, I've never heard of that. But it's honestly true. They definitely do it. So be prepared, you know, because that can definitely happen to any of us. So, but anyway, that's my mumzo talk, isn't it? About all of those things. And you can see at the bottom, I'm just weighing a few just to make sure that I'm cutting them right. So out of this, I will get a little over 60 bars of soap as well. And if you want my palm-free soap recipe, please go back to a couple videos. I'm pretty sure I put it in. If you're on Patreon, all of my recipes are on there. They are not locked. I don't lock any recipe. You'll be able to get any recipe that I put on there, and suppliers lists and so on. So my Patreon is from $5 a month, depending on what you want, you know, whether you need my help or not. But you can go over there, and like I said, any recipe I do is over there, and usually I do some blogs and some extra things just to give people more information over there. But, you know, so that's a little bit exciting, isn't it, that we can all kind of talk over there, or come over and join my Facebook group. It is totally free. It's the Nelson Soapery Facebook group, and it's a private group, so you'll have to answer the questions to get in. And it is a totally safe platform. I have done it so that, you know, there is no Karens in my group. As we know, I say Karens or Tracy's. If anyone is a bit mean, unfortunately, they get exited out of the group. And I've never had to do that, and I'm sure I won't, because we don't want to do that, do we? But anyway, I hope you are enjoying watching me cut this absolutely darling soap. Now, my mix in this, to tell you the scent, it's got like a strawberry kind of like exotic milkshake kind of scent with bursts of raspberry in it, and a tiny little zing of lemon, but it's mostly sweet and pink sugar typed scent, which is really beautiful. I'm hoping it's not going to discolor. It may discolor a tiny bit, but I don't think it will go brown. If it does, I may cry. But if it does go brown, well, that's life. We can't do anything about that, can we? So, and mine get wrapped up in a beautiful, you know, wrap. And look, everyone, this is a good reason why to wrap or box your soap. Number one, paper or boxes actually hold the scent in, whereas the plastic doesn't. So, or the bioplastic doesn't really hold the scent in as much. So that's one thing that I do like about doing papers and things like that. And also, if your product discolors, you're still having a beautiful, colourful wrap on it. So then you don't need to go, oh my goodness, this is discoloring. What am I going to do? And you can use scents that you really love that you know discolor. And on my website, if you go on there, you'll be able to see that I have a picture of it wrapped up and then a picture of the inner soap. I didn't have that to start with, but that's important because people want to see what it's going to look like. So let's do the last one while we're having our little chat on here as well. And we will make this absolutely beautiful. I know my daughter Annie is going to so want one of these. Annie is 14, and she has been obsessed with unicorns since she was a child. And we actually went to, like, you know, a fair, like a market fair many years ago, and they had a pony, and on the pony they had tied a handmade unicorn hat on it, and my daughter said, see, there are unicorns, they are real, because she's seen one, and you know, we all thought it was so funny, and she still remembers that moment, and she said, oh, I really believe that was real. So so funny. Kids are so funny, aren't they? So, and you can see all of the beautiful pink and purple colors through this. All of my micas as well come from Sud Off, so I've used bubblegum pink, and I think it's called light violet is the other color. And light violet, when you make it, it looks like a dirty, horrible sort of grey, but it's not. It comes up this really beautiful, soft purple. It's not like a heavy purple. It's soft and sort of dreamlike. So if you want that dreamy purple, I'll put the links in too, so that you know of the individual colors I've used. And when I buy my sprinkles, I buy them from the cake shop. It has every ingredient into the sprinkles as well. And I buy those from iDream Cakes. So hopefully I've given you lots and lots of information today on the things that I use and what I do. And this little scale, I have two scales. I have a really big commercial one, and then I have this little baby $10 one, which is from Kmart, which is just our local department store here. It's probably like Walmart, really. And it's really cheap. So, but that's the one I keep on the bench, so then I can, you know, measure everything up as well, just to make sure, you know. But look how beautiful it is. I mean, and the sprinkles are just so darling. So these ones will have to sit there and cure for some time, so they will not be out until probably the very last day in September, I would think. Or maybe a bit after that. But anyway, they'll be ready, getting ready for Christmas. So if you have not made your Christmas soaps, everyone, please get going. You must start on those, because wholesale stores will want to get their little fingers on those very, very soon. And of course, you know, you need them by the end of September. So a lot of my soaps are ready to go by the end of September, ones that I've got curing already, and I've made, I think, 100 kilograms of soap in this month. So those ones are definitely going to be ready to go. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed today. Make sure you're kind to someone you don't even know today, and have an amazing, lovely day. And I will see you guys, my lovely friends, on YouTube and, of course, on Patreon very, very soon. Bye, friends.